In today's shocking update, we regret to inform you that Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, is in the hospital following a vicious attack on SmackDown. Roman, a man who has been at the pinnacle of WWE for years, suffered a brutal beatdown at the hands of Solo Sikoa and his Bloodline faction, leaving the entire WWE universe in stunned disbelief. This is a serious situation, one that could change the course of WWE forever. Let's start by taking you through what happened, moment by moment, in one of the most dramatic main events we've ever seen on SmackDown. The main event saw Solo Sikoa face his older brother, Jimmy Uso. Now, everyone watching SmackDown knew there was tension between Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso earlier that night. There had been some heated words exchanged, and many people thought Roman was ready to be done with Jimmy, possibly abandoning him altogether. But despite those tensions, Roman Reigns put aside his personal grievances when the stakes were raised to a life-threatening level. It was family that pulled him back into the fray. As the match between Solo and Jimmy unfolded, it became clear that Solo had the upper hand. But what no one could have predicted was the brutal assault that would follow after Solo picked up the victory. Solo didn't just win the match. He and his new bloodline decided to make a statement. This wasn't about competition, this was about dominance. As Solo's bloodline began to maul Jimmy Uso, the audience could feel the shift. This was not just another beatdown, this felt personal, and it was brutal. Four men, Solo, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa, laid waste to Jimmy Uso, taking turns punishing him. You could see it in the fans' faces. They were shocked, worried. Was this the end of Jimmy Uso? And then, in one of the most unexpected moments of the night, Roman Reigns' music hit. The tribal chief himself was making his way to the ring, not to continue any grudge against Jimmy, but to save him. For a brief moment, the WWE universe erupted. Could Roman Reigns really be stepping in to take down Solo's bloodline and save his cousin? At first, it looked like Roman would do exactly that. He stormed to the ring with that same unstoppable energy we've seen him bring for years. Fatu was the first to fall, taken down by a vicious right hand from Roman. Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa were next, crumbling under Roman's raw power. The tribal chief was on fire, looking like he might single-handedly destroy this new faction, just as he had done to so many others before. But then came the turning point. Solo Sikoa stepped up. The former enforcer of Roman Reigns, the man who had once helped Roman cement his dominance over WWE, now stood in direct opposition to him. The tension was overwhelming as the two stared each other down in the ring. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for, the battle between the current tribal chief and the man who sought to replace him. The crowd was on the edge of their seats. Roman and Solo had history, a deep, complex history that made this confrontation even more intense. Roman raised his hands, ready to strike, but just as he was about to land a blow, Jacob Fatu blindsided him from behind with a vicious hip attack. Everything fell apart in that moment. Roman, the man who had taken down opponent after opponent for years, was now the one in trouble. The bloodline didn't hesitate. They swarmed Roman like predators. Fatu hit a devastating super kick, knocking Roman to the mat. Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa continued the assault, and Roman could barely defend himself. You could see it on his face. Roman was struggling, gasping for breath as the beating continued. And then came the final, most devastating move of the night. Solo Sikoa delivered a brutal Samoan Spike straight to Roman's throat. Roman Reigns collapsed. He clutched at his throat, struggling to breathe. It was clear to everyone watching, Roman wasn't just in pain, he was in a medical crisis. His chest heaved as he tried desperately to get air, his face contorted in agony. The tribal chief, the man who had stood tall over WWE for so long, was now lying helpless in the center of the ring. His family, his allies, nowhere to be found. At this point, you could hear the concern in the arena. Fans were no longer cheering. They were silent, worried. Roman's breathing was labored, and it was obvious that he was in trouble. His throat, possibly even his vocal cords, had been severely damaged by that Samoan Spike. It's hard to imagine Roman Reigns, the man who commands respect with every word he speaks, now unable to call for help because of the damage done to his throat. As WWE doctors rushed to the ring, there was a collective gasp from the crowd. Roman couldn't even speak, his throat and chest possibly injured to the point where he couldn't call out for help. The medical team worked quickly, doing everything they could to stabilize him. You could see the urgency in their actions. This was not part of the show. Roman was in real danger. In a matter of minutes, Roman Reigns was placed on a stretcher, strapped in, and rushed backstage. He was loaded into an ambulance, and according to the latest reports, Roman was taken to a local hospital. His condition is still unknown, but the fact that he had to be rushed out of the arena tells us just how serious this situation really is. Now, let's talk about what this means for the Bloodline and the future of WWE. Roman Reigns has been the undisputed leader of the Bloodline for years, but with him now in the hospital, is this the end of his reign? Solo Sikoa has already taken steps to establish himself as the new tribal chief. With the help of Jacob Fadu, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa, Solo's bloodline looks stronger than ever. They've proven they can take down Roman Reigns, something no one thought possible. But the biggest question now is, what comes next? Earlier in the night, Jimmy Uso told Roman, "We need help." He knew they couldn't beat Solo's bloodline alone, but Roman, being the defiant leader he is, dismissed the idea. He still believed they were the ones, untouchable. But now, after what happened on SmackDown, it's clear that Jimmy was right. Jimmy Uso, after enduring the beatdown of a lifetime, managed to pull himself up in the ring. As he looked at his fallen cousin, you could see the emotion on his face. Jimmy knew they were in over their heads. He said it again, loud enough for the camera to catch it. "We need help." But where will that help come from? With Roman in the hospital, Jimmy Uso is now left to fend for himself against a faction that is growing stronger by the day. The Bloodline has fractured into two powerful factions, and Jimmy is caught in the middle. Will he be able to rally other allies, or is this the end for the original Bloodline? Rumors have already started circulating backstage. Some insiders believe Roman's injuries could be worse than initially thought. There are whispers that Roman might not return for a long time, or possibly never return at all. If that's the case, then Solo Sikoa's bloodline is poised to take over SmackDown completely. But we also have to consider another possibility. With WWE, you never know where the line between reality and fiction truly lies. Could this entire situation be part of a larger storyline? Is Roman Reigns' hospital trip real, or is it all part of an elaborate plan to make his eventual return even more epic? At this point, it's impossible to say for sure. All we know is that Roman Reigns is in the hospital, and WWE is being very tight-lipped about his condition.
Lost control, no time. Fireworks of fate unchained, pushing past the pain. Legends rise.